San Diego in 1998. We had about 600 names on it, and we knew it wasn't complete. So after Florida last year, I went back and continued working on the family tree, and as of now, we have about 1,000 names on the tree, and we know it's not complete. So I want to say thank you to those of you that I have come to during this last year for information, for all of your help. Our research for the tree is going to continue. I'm going to spend time in Cleveland this coming week talking with Cousin Carrie and some other relatives who have information to add to the tree. But we're building the tree on a website called Ancestry.com. And without taking too much time, I want to tell you one story that has emerged from this year from Ancestry.com. Our tree has what is called a public setting, meaning that if I put the name, let's say Hansie Solomon, on our tree, and someone else is working on a tree that says Hansie Solomon, the computer will allow the two of us to connect. So we have a relative, I won't get into all the details, but in our family, way back, there is a name, Ephraim Rivers. And one of my frustrations was not being able to find out what happened to Ephraim Rivers' descendants. So his name was on the tree. I get an email one day from a young woman who says, "You have Ephraim Rivers on your tree. He was my grandfather." And within, I would say over the next 2 hours, we had exchanged emails, telephone numbers, had a conversation, and Ephraim Rivers' daughter had faxed me the program from her father's funeral. She is here today. It's the first reunion she's ever been to, and I'm going to ask her to stand up, and that's Cousin Connie. Now Carrie has asked me to tell you who Ephraim is. Okay, I'm going to see if I can do this from memory. We all know that those of us on the Ford side are descended from Hansie Solomon. And I already have to take another detour and tell you that Hansie Solomon had a husband. All these years we've been talking about Hansie Solomon, but Hansie Solomon's husband, I found through my research this year, was a man whose name was Peter. And they didn't have 3 children, as we have thought all these years. They had 8. Wow. And so that's as far as I know with that part of the story. But one of Hansie Solomon's daughters was Sarah Ann. Sarah Ann married Ephraim Rivers. They had a son whose name was Ephraim Rivers. So I'm going to call him Ephraim Rivers 1. They had a son, Ephraim Rivers 2. He had a son who was the 3rd Ephraim Rivers. That is Connie's father. Wow. So we are going to continue our research and our efforts into continuing to work on the family tree, and we will figure out some way in which to make that available to everybody next year. And thanks in advance to those of you that I'm going to be calling and asking for information. Brother and I have already made plans, as Brother Vincent and I have already made plans to get together either in California or in Nebraska, because he has a lot of information that he's going to share. And another thing I want to mention is that out of the tragic loss of one of the Vincents, Brandon, in an accident over this past year, I have become connected to a whole branch of Vincents who have lived in California for years that I never knew were there. And so we're also hoping for their participation at the California reunion. What else? Electronic raffle.
Normally what we do through many of the reunions is to raise funds for the operation, is to do a raffle. And what we've done before, as many of you know, is to send you raffle tickets and then have you send them back. And we want to make it as high-tech and low-cost or more efficient as possible. So also on the website we'll be sending you information about an electronic raffle that does the same thing, but doesn't have all the mailing back and forth and all that goes with that. So again, we want to be as effective as we can, but at the end of the day, it's all toward making the family more reunited, getting